Alright, so this video we're going to look at changing polar coordinates to rectangular coordinates. So here it says if a point has rectangular coordinates x, y, and polar coordinates r, theta, then these coordinates are related as follows. So this one tells us how to go from polar to rectangular coordinates. The x coordinate is r times the cosine of theta, and y is equal to r times the sine of theta. And see, this will be the polar coordinates you're given, r and theta. Now this one down here is to go the other way from rectangular to polar. I'm not doing that in this video. I'll have other videos of this. I'll have several examples of these. They'll probably be in several videos because these take a little longer to work. But I think I can get all four of these in this one video, the examples I have. So let's take a look at the first one. We have two 45 degrees. All right. So here we know that this point is in the form r theta. So we know r is 2, theta is 45. So let's go ahead and get the x coordinate, which is r times cosine theta. And so this is equal to 2 times the cosine of 45 degrees. And so we get 2 times, and then this is one of the special angles you should know. Cosine of 45 degrees, that's square root of 2 over 2. And so we can see the 2's cancel, so I have square root of 2. And then the same thing for y, that's r times sine theta. And so this is going to be 2 times the sine of 45 degrees, which is 2 times, and then the sine of 45, well, that's square root of 2 over 2. Okay, and you know these are the special angles you should know. If not, your teacher may have told you to memorize the unit circle. You can look on that. Personally, I don't think you should use the unit circle. I think it's better to just know the special angles and have the ability to use reference angles. All right. So the 2 times square root of 2 over 2, that's going to leave us with square root of 2. And so our final answer would be our x coordinate is square root of 2 over, is square root of 2, and our y coordinate is square root of 2. And so this would be your answer. All right, let's take a look at another one. So I've got 3 120. And so here I've got r theta. Okay. So let's look for the x coordinate. So that's r cosine of 120. Okay, and once again, if you know the unit circle, you can use that. You should know how to look that up. But I'm gonna do this based on reference angles. Okay, so let's come down here and figure this out. All right, so let's draw 120 degrees, which is here. There's 120. I need my reference angle, so I'll use a subscript r on it. You may use, some books use different symbols to represent the reference angle. I'll just use the theta with the subscript r. And so we know our reference angle, which is this angle, that's going to be 180 minus the 120, which is 60 degrees. And so this is 60 degrees. Okay, that's my reference angle. And if you need to look at some more stuff on reference angles, I've got videos on reference angles. You can check those out. Let me change this r here to a 2. I'm sorry, to a 3. All right, so we've got 3 times. Now we need the cosine of 120. Well, to find this, we can do the cosine of 60. So the cosine of 60 is 1/2. Okay, and I'm in the second quadrant. And remember, all students take calculus. In the second quadrant, cosine is negative, so it's negative 1/2. And so this is going to give me negative 3/2. And then we'll find our y coordinate, which that's r, which is 3, times sine theta, which is 120. And so this is going to be 3 times. And then to find the sine of 120, well, that's 60 degrees. I'm sorry, to find the sine of 120, I can find the sine of 60, and the sine of 60 is square root of 3 over 2. Okay, I'm in the second quadrant, all students. Okay, so sine is positive in the second quadrant, so this will stay positive, and so this is going to give me 3 square root of 3 over 2. And so my coordinates, my x coordinate is negative 3/2. My y coordinate is 3 square root of 3 over 2. And there's the answer. All right, let's take a look at example 3. I've actually got I've got 2 more examples. Okay. All right, so let's look at this. This is r theta. So let's go ahead and find our x coordinate. All right, so I've got r is -4, so that's -4 times cosine of 30 degrees. All right, so we've got -4 times, and then the cosine of 30. Well, cosine of 30, if you remember that, that's square root of 3 over 2. And so when I multiply these, the 2 and the 4 cancel. I'm left with -2 square root of 3. And then if we find the y coordinate, well, that's -4 times sine of 30 degrees. Well, that's going to be -4 times, and then the sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. And so -4 times 1/2 is -2. And so my xy coordinate, my x coordinate is -2 square root of 3. My y coordinate is -2. And there's your answer. All right, so now let's take a look at this last one here. All right, so we've got -1, -120. All right, so once again, we've got r theta. So I've got x is equal to r, which is -1, times cosine of -120. All right, so now let's take a look at this. All right, so -120. Okay, that means we're rotating in a clockwise direction. Okay, so the -120, what I want to do to make it easier to calculate, I want to get this as a positive angle between 0 and 360. Okay, so if I take -120 and I add 360, okay, so I've got 360 plus -120, that's going to give me 240 degrees. So I know I'm over here in the third quadrant, because remember, this is 0, 90, 180, 270. So the 240 is right in here. Okay, and look, if I rotate, okay, if I rotate -120, that's the same thing as rotating a positive 240. Okay, all right, so we know this is 240 degrees. And then I need to find my reference angle. There's my reference angle. So my reference angle is going to be what? 240 minus 180. So my reference angle is 240 minus 180. All right, and that's going to be what, 60 degrees? Okay. All right. So now we're ready to do our calculations. All right. So let's see. We've got negative, let me change colors. We've got -1 times, okay? So now for the cosine of -120, I can do the cosine of 60. The cosine of 60 is 1/2. I'm in the third quadrant, so this is negative, and so this is going to be positive 1/2. And then for y, we've got r, which is -1, times sine -120. So that's -1 times. Now, the sine of 60 is square root of 3 over 2. I'm in the third quadrant. That's negative. And so this is going to be positive square root of 3 over 2. Okay. Now, there's my x coordinate 1/2. There's my y coordinate square root of 3 over 2. Now, let's look at this. Okay. It's kind of weird how this angle is over here in the third quadrant, but if you notice, if we plot this on an XY coordinate system, if I go over 1/2 and up square root of 3 over 2, I'm in the first quadrant. Okay, well, that's where it comes in, being able to understand how to plot these things. So if we plot the polar coordinate, okay, now remember, r is -1/2, so I don't go to the right, I go this way. Okay, I go to the left, negative, and then I rotate -120. Well, normally when we rotate and it's a positive angle, we rotate in a counterclockwise direction. But since this is -120, I'm at -1, then I rotate -120, which is in a clockwise direction, which would put me over here in the first quadrant. Okay, so hopefully this helped. Learn how to do reference angles. If you need to look at some videos, I've got several on my channel. Check those out. Give me a like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.